part 2 here of the letter KAF. So if we look at verse 82, KAF Lamed Vav. Again, that's not in the dictionary with the Vav suffix, so you just got to look at KAF Lamed, and it has to do with all of it. It's also the word kala, KAF Lamed Hey, the feminine suffix, but this isn't the KAF Lamed Hey, it's KAF Lamed Vav. But KAF Lamed Hey is the word for bride, or completed, finished, accomplished, fulfilled, but it's also destroyed, lost, or end, or imprisoned, or enclosed is KAF Lamed Vav Aleph. So again, it's impossible, as far as I can see, to say we know exactly what this means. I'm going to give you a one-word definition. It's the concept of, in conclusion, the whole matter. What's that got to do with a bride? Well, from my perspective of understanding is that a girl, she's born, grows up in her parents' household, learns things, goes to school, gets to the point where she is of age and of her own recognizance at that age where instead of her father being her overseer, taking care of her, that's when you hand off the father typically hands off the bride to the groom, the husband, and he now takes care of that girl, that woman. So the concept of the bride is the change of responsibility, jurisdiction. Yeah, what's that got to do with the bride? Completed, finished. Well, there's this concept in culture where you are, as a girl, go to school to learn some things. Well, you learn how to speak, you learn how to walk, you learn how to then do domestic chores, but then there's girls of the palace, you might say, their job isn't domestic chores. That's a whole different kind of culture. I saw a picture the other day, a famous painting. I don't know who did it. It was from a long time ago. 3 girls dressed in fine. It was a kind of a nice summer day, and one was feeding some fish in a pond, and the other 2 were just kind of lounging. And it's like, these 3 girls looked like they never did any work ever in their life. They were very, I should say, delicate. There's a verse, and I think it's in Song of Solomon, where I think that's where it was, or maybe it was talking about Maiden of Israel. But the point is, there's a phrase, I think Paul Simon wrote a song. It says something about diamonds on the soles of her shoes. It's like, you don't put diamonds on the soles of your shoes. Why would you do that? You know, you're walking in the mud, you're walking on the pavement, they get all scratched up. That's the point. She doesn't walk. Any girl that has diamonds on the soles of her shoes has her feet up and she's not out there walking around. The picture of these 3 girls, it's a famous painting. They don't do any work. Well, then what do they learn? There's this phrase, finishing school. You go to finishing school to learn manners, to learn how to speak, to learn how to look pretty, to learn how to be graceful. What's your job? See, this is the first 2 words of Psalm 119, verse 81 and 82. KAF Lamed Tav Hey, KAF Lamed Vav. It throws you in this concept of completed, finished, accomplished, fulfilled. But if you're a bride, you're just leaving one arena of life in your parents' household, and you're being thrown into, or you're just beginning a whole nother thing where hopefully the stuff you've learned you can now put to use. So you're no longer learning, you're now doing. So there's a learning phase and a using phase. Well, the way I see the Mishkan pattern is KAF Lamed is teach and learn the Torah. That's the learning phase. Well, now you've got Mem Nun at the laver, the pool, the laver, and then you've got Samak Ayin Pei in the covered place. Well, in the tent, in the covered place of Samak Ayin Pei, I line that up with Micah 6:8. He has shown you, O man, what is good, what is tov. What does Yahweh, what does Elohim demand or expect or require of you? Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with your Elohim. Samek ayin pei, samek, like the tree, the menorah, do justly, bear the fruit of righteousness, justice, truth, kindness, fruits of the Spirit, Galatians 5:22. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Justice, equity, truth. Do justly, love kindness. Well, if that lines up with the ayin, that's the fruit itself. Kindness. YHUH said, with the measure you use, it'll be measured to you. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Whatever goes around comes around. Man's ways returned upon his own head. So the fruit you bear is the fruit you're going to eat. Pei is, if that's stomach, ayin, pei is the mouth, that which eats, that which opens. You eat and then you fertilize the tree and it goes back for another cycle. So like this triangle, these three are hooked together. That stomach, ayin, pei is the doing, but the learning is the KAF and lamed. That's the lines of the Torah. So what's in between learning and doing is the mem nun of taking it to heart. If the KAF is the plowed field and the hoe is the lamed, what's the seed? Well, Yeshua gave parables of the sower and the seed, and he said the seed is the word of Elohim. Well, what's mem and nun? Well, if mem is a pool of water, nun is the fish that lives into it. But if mem is the womb, then what's the seed of the Father that's planted in the womb? His word. And then that seed of the Father joins together, fertilizes the womb, the mem of the bride, the wife, and the nun is the zygote embryo, the fetus that starts growing, that jumps out of the womb, nun, and starts growing as the samek. So what's that? What's that mem nun? Well, if there's something about the bride, which is kaf lamed hey, kaf lamed vav, all of it, learn. See, the word for unleavened bread, matzah, mem zadi vav tav, plural, matzot. Chag HaMatzot is the second festival. If the first one's Pesach, lining up with Het Tet Yod, then Kaf Lamed is the festival of unleavened bread. Unleavened bread, matzah. Matzah also means to press and squeeze, to squeeze out, like get all the water out of it, and you're left with a dry cracker. But matzah also is a word that means find out how to do the command, the Zadi Vav. The plural, mem zadi vav tav, well, zadi vav is the command. The vav tav plural is mem zadi vav tav, matzot. So again, it's all a play on words. Find out how to do what? If you choose life, Moshe said, I put before you life and death, blessing and cursing. I suggest you choose life. Choosing life is then to enter the kingdom of the blue, purple, red, white, the yod, hey, vav, hey. Say, I am in the kingdom. Now what? Right in front of you, right at you at the beginning when you step in the gate is the barbecue grill. See, halfway between the barbecue grill and the covered place, the tent, halfway in between was the laver, but right at the gate when you walked in. So the question is, Andrew Hoy draws this picture of the round fence, and in the fence, right in the fence, was a space for the barbecue grill. And it's like, well, maybe, but the way I see it is that I draw this picture of a rectangular fence. It might be round. That's not the point. The point is, where's the barbecue grill compared to the fence? Well, if the fence is made out of a fabric, it's going to catch fire if it's going to get animals, liquids splashed on it. So there's got to be a big enough space where you can process hundreds and hundreds of these animals. It's a brazen altar. So there was one time somebody came to town and they had a full mock-up of the tabernacle. And they took it around the country, different cities. But the point is, you get to see, well, this is what it was like. So if you step inside the fence or at the fence Right there, it says, there's the barbecue grill. Was it in the midst of the fence? Was it a foot in? Was it 5 feet in? If you opened up the fence, stepped in the big embroidered gate, it had 5 feet, 10 feet, but then you have the barbecue right there. How much room, elbow room do you need? The point is, your first business of concern when you choose life is to find out how to do what he commanded. That's what's in the words. That's what's in the picture. What did he say? Oh, we're told we didn't have to do it. It doesn't matter what you're told. What did he say? Find out what to do, what he said. Well, then what's David hoping for? Salvation, it says. Verse 81, Lamed, Tav, Shin Vav Ayin, Tav Kaf. 9 times, the whole 9 yards of salvation. What's David talking about? Verse 82, Kaf Lamed Vav, all of it, the whole thing, Ayin Yod Nun Yod. Well, that's Ayin Yod Nun is I. So this is my eye, my eyes. But see, Ayin also means to estimate, calculate, determine, evaluate, assessment. Weigh carefully, measure precisely, determine meticulously. So what's David looking at? It's got to be the Torah. The next word, Lamed, Aleph, Mem, Resh, Tav, Kaf. At what you said. See, the word debar means to say. The word amer means to say. There's other words that mean utterance. There's Mem, Lamed, Lamed is one. Hey, Bet, Tet is another one. But he's looking at and assessing what you said. Then there's this word Lamed, Aleph, Mem, Resh, concerning what you said. What did you say concerning the declaration? Well, here's this word Mem Tav Yod, which is my death. Mem Tav is the word dead or corpse. Mem Tav Yod, the Yod suffix would mean my death. It's like, wait a minute. I've looked at everything and I've assessed about what you said concerning the declaring of my death. And then Tav, the last word, Tav Nun Het Mem Nun Yod. Well, the Nun Yod suffix is what I'm doing. Nun Het Mem, Nacham, Nachama. Het Mem is the word warm, so Het Mem Nun can mean sunflower or sun pillar, like an obelisk. But if it's Nun Het Mem, that's the word for to be relieved, consoled, or comforted. Nachem, restored, redeemed. It's like, I look at what you said regarding my death and like, okay, I'm good with that. I'm going to feel, it's like, wait a minute, when was David ever told anything about his death? Well, it actually in 2 Samuel 7, we'll look at that just real quick. This is where Samuel, the prophet, speaking to David, well, here it says the word of the Lord came to Nathan. Verse 4, this is where David says, hey, I'm living in a house of cedar while the ark of Elohim dwells inside a curtain. And Nathan, the prophet, said to the king, verse 3 of 2 Samuel 7, whatever's in your heart, go and do, for Yahweh is with you. See, they didn't get an actual word. Nathan just was going with the feel of it and said, hey, Elohim's with you. Emmanuel. Hey, go with whatever you... So David said, hey, the ark of the covenant is in a tent in Ohel. I'm in a house of cedar. I'm going to build a palace. I'm going to build a temple for him. It happened that night. The word of Yahweh came to Nathan saying, go and say to my servant David, thus says Yahweh, you're going to build me a house for dwelling? I haven't dwelt in a house from the day I brought the children of Israel up from Egypt to this day. I have moved about in a tent and a tabernacle. Wherever I moved about the children of Israel, did I say one word to the leaders of Israel, whom I have appointed to shepherd my people, saying, why have you not built me a house of cedar? And now shall you say to my servant David, thus says Yahweh Zavot, I have taken you from the sheepfold, from following the flocks, to become ruler over my people, over Israel. I was with you wherever you went. I cut down all your enemies before you. I gave you great renown, like the renown of great men of the world. I shall yet establish a place for my people, for Israel. I shall plant it there, and it shall dwell in its place, talking about Israel, so that it shall be disturbed no more. Iniquitous people will no longer afflict it as in earlier time. See, Yahweh's picturing Israel living in his presence with blessing and success. He's not picturing 3,000 years of Israel being downtrodden. He's picturing, not that he doesn't know that's going to happen, but he's picturing how great it's going to be when Israel's doing what Israel's supposed to be doing. And I shall give you respite from all your enemies. And Yahweh informs you, David, that Yahweh will establish a dynasty from you. When your days are complete and you lie with your forefathers, I will raise up after you your offspring who will issue from your loins. I will make his kingdom firm. He shall build a temple for my sake, and I will make firm the throne of his kingdom forever. That's Solomon. I shall be a father unto him. He shall be a son to me, so that when he sins, I will chastise him with the rod of men and the afflictions of human beings. But my kindness will not be removed from him, as I removed it from Saul, whom I removed from before you. Your dynasty and your kingdom will remain steadfast before you for all time. Your throne will remain firm forever. In accordance with all these words and this entire vision did Nathan speak to David. King David came and sat down before Yahweh and said, who am I, Yahweh Elohim, and who is my household that you should have brought me this far? And yet this was still insufficient in your eyes? Adonai, Yahweh, that you have spoken even of your servant's household in this distant future, and will be fitting for great men. Oh, Yahweh Elohim, what more can David say to you? You know your servant. Adonai, Yahweh, it's because your word and your desire that you have bestowed all this greatness upon me and informed your servant of it. Because you are great, Yahweh Elohim. There's none like you, and there's no God beside you, according to all that we have heard with our own ears. Anyway, he goes on with the chapter of 2 Samuel 7 regarding that matter. And then it's verse 1 of chapter 8. It happened after this that David struck the Philistines and subdued them. He took Metheg Ammah from the hands of the Philistines. He also struck Moab. He measured his captives with a rope. Stuff about tribute. He also struck, verse 3, Hadazer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah, as he was the way to extend his control of Euphrates River. David captured from 1,000. Goes on and on. Of all these other, the rest of the chapter of all these people that David has struck. So here's my point. David's sitting here saying, I don't know if I'm going to live another day. I don't know if I'm going to live to be 50 years old or 70 years old or 120 years old. Nobody knows. But then Nathan came up and said, hey, Elohim is going to make you a dynasty and a great nation. And David said, that means I've got to be victorious. Wow, he's already told me I'm going to be victorious. So David hauls out after all his enemies and wins every encounter. See, David had this confidence that because Yahuwah had given him that prophecy by Nathan, have nothing to do with the temple, nothing to do with all the sacrifices. He says, hey, you're a man after my own heart, and I've decided to make a dynasty, which if your son walks in my ways, he goes on to say, and David, what the counsel David gave to Solomon, you better do everything Yahweh says. And if you don't, you're going to lose it. But if you do, it's there. It's always this if. But see, I believe this then is the attitude that David is expressing in verse 82, what he says, what did you say about my death? And I'm relieved, but I'm restored. I am invigorated with nachma. I did one other thing in looking at this, because, we're talking about the letter KAF, but the way the words are composed, look at the word my death, mem tav yod. What does that really mean? Look in the dictionary. Mem tav is dead. Yod suffix means my death. But if I say, look at the mem is a prefix letter, the yod is the suffix letter, so the letter in between is the tav. Mem means the tool, the object, the time, the place, the one who. Yod means my. What is this? And whether it's my meaning me, the speaker, or whether it's my meaning possessed by that which came before the yod, which is the letter tav. So what is the substance of tavness? That's kind of what mem tav yod means. So I just did a little indexing here. Tav aleph means cell, compartment, come on, it's a box, like a theater box. Tav bet is box. It's also word. It's also the hull of a ship. So both Tav aleph and Tav bet are some kind of container where we're putting something in like a basket or a suitcase or something, a car, even the trunk of a ship. Tav Gimel, ornament or label. So here, I'll put this up on the chat, but I'm just going to read these words. I'll just give you the English words. All I'm looking at is Tav Aleph, Tav Bet, Tav Gimel, Tav Dalet, Tav Hey, Tav Vav, and I'm just reading. So this is the 22 letters of the alphabet as the second letter, with Tav being the first letter. Listen to these words and think, what is the essence of this? What is the essence of the Tavness? What's the mem of the Tav Yod that he's talking about? Come, box, a hull of a ship, ornament, label, stupefied, dumbfounded, astonished, meditate, repent, examine, smell the wine, again, sign, designed, amazing, thesis, vibration, agitate, squall, softened, dry rotted, where one stands, ischious as a suffix to an English word, ischiously, oppression, stitch, sewing, set down, planning, hill, hang onto, ascribed to, dependent on, perfect, teach, stipulate, condition, to ferment, fizz, stray, wander, reel, misdirected, mocked, drum, tap, made evident, hope, correction, made right, set of codes, explore, weak, yield, sub, hypo, under. You could ponder that, you could look at that, you could think about that, you could just try to get the feeling for that. But what I see this is what am I about? Who am I? What's my thing? If I was going to put a label on myself, what would it be? If I was going to describe my life, what have I determined? If I take everything in my life, everything I've decided to be interested in, everything I've decided to do, what did I learn? What did I not learn? Where did I go? Where did I stay away from? All that stuff. Who am I? Who have I decided to be? That's the memming of my tav. That's the conclusion of the matter. The tav is the last letter. Kaf lamed means all. The conclusion of. The mem of tav is, in other words, if I have a place to plow, like Adam and Hua were taken from the garden and put right back to the place they were taken from and told, you're now going to plow this soil. It's like they were taken from the garden, Samak Ayin Pei, and put back at Kaf lamed. Who have you decided to be? What's your thing? What seeds did you decide to plant in those furrows, those lines of the Kaf? What's your name? Your Shem. Name, fame, renown, reputation, the occupation of all your concerns, the Ayin Nun Hey. How did you respond? What did you make your burden? The whole world's at your feet. You can do anything you want. You can live in America. Maybe you have to. Maybe you get to. Maybe you choose not to. You don't have to be here. Where do you want to live? If you could do anything, what would it be? If you could imagine, if you could think, if you could watch any movie, if you could be any person, what would you do? Is that your tav? And if it's imaginary, if you're just thinking, well, maybe, is that memming is that taking to heart? Whether or not you can actually do it is another matter. That's Samak Ayin Pei, but where's your heart? Is that mem tav yod? But that's the word just simply reads my death. Or was David hearing what Nathan the prophet in 2 Samuel 7 was saying? This is what Yahuwah had planned to hand David. And then David within that field could be whoever he wanted to be. And the first thing he did is jump up and go kill his enemies, take over their lands. It's like he was the king, he was a warrior, that's what he did. And it's like, okay, that's David's thing. But he said, I'm relieved, I'm at rest. He was restored and refreshed and redeemed and jumped up and says, I'm gonna go forward like I win. I'm gonna go forward like they can't kill me. He has already told, my Elohim has already told me I have the victory. I'm going to go as if I've already won this, even though I haven't seen it manifest yet. You see, is that what he was waiting and hoping for in the previous verse? Yechal, Yod-Het Lamed? Yod-Het Lamed. Het is this compound, this fence, and Lamed is the teaching and the authority. Do we know what the Torah says? Do we know that the fact that Yahweh says, whoever walks in my ways, keeping my commands, I will make nature cooperate, I will provide blessings on his country, I will keep his enemies at bay. That was the promise of the Torah. That's the Lamed, the authority, the shepherd staff of the KAF Torah is this blessing. And we've been taught, do not regard the words of the Torah. In fact, I remember hearing many times, anyone who decides to keep the words of the Torah is becoming a Judaizer. You're going back under the law. You're blaspheming the blood of the Savior on the cross, you infidel heretic. Or am I honoring Yahweh's vote? Nam Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, doing exactly what he said he wanted his people to do. Which is it? Left hand, right hand. Where's the strength? Do what he said to do. And where's the, what? Oh, that's the left. Not the right, that's the left. To let it besiege my mind, the broken into pieces, questioning, fractured, not knowing. And if I take that meaning, I could say, don't let your left hand and know what your right hand is doing while you're giving. If what I'm giving is shomering the mitzvot, then I shouldn't let the questions of what did he say, what's it mean, what's it all about, Alfie, trying to figure out the right calendar and trying to figure out the right exact meaning of this and that. I shouldn't let that stop me from doing the obvious, powerful, right thing. What did he say? What he said was, don't work on the Shabbat. What he said was, blow the shofar when things are great, and when your enemy comes around, blow it again. I'll be there and I'll take those guys out of your way. That's what he said. He said, do justice and mercy and kindness and truth. Righteousness, do it. That's what he said. Oh, and believe, if I looked at the verse 83, because Kaf Yod hyphened with Hey Yod Yod Tav Yod, Ha Yayataya, Ha Yayiti, because I exist, Kaf Nun Aleph Dalet. Kaf Nun means yes. Kaf Nun Aleph means now. But, or Nun Aleph is now, please, but Aleph Dalet, like Aleph Dalet Mem is Adam, Dalet Mem is blood or similarity, Aleph Dalet means vapor. So I could say this word Kaf Nun Aleph Dalet is yes, now vapor. You look in the dictionary, Nun Aleph Dalet is a skin bottle, like a Boda bag. Because my existence, like a skin bottle, bet in the condition of QOOF-YOD-TET Vav Resh. Kitor. That's like this. There's a country named Qatar, right? The same phonetic. It means thick smoke, vapor, or steam. Kuf-tet resh, katara, or katara, means locomotive engine, incense, burning, smoking. It's a circle with a line, which is a picture of a diameter, caliber, axis of a sphere to bind. It's an engine driver. So it's just like this burning. Think of this powerful locomotive. I'm like a skin bottle with a vapor of churning, smoking energy within it. Chokika, het kuf yod kaf. Well, het kuf is law. Het kuf yod is that, like you said, is it me? Het kuf is also me, my imitation of you. It's also just read as your law. Your law. Debar, 10 debarim, those are matters. This is law, hook. Mitzvot, zadivav, is a command, but this is constitution law. This is the way the kingdom is structured. Chet kuf, chet vav kuf, rungs on a ladder. This is, you could say, well, the rungs on the ladder are what you climb to aliyah, to ascent, to be promoted to a higher dignity. You could play into that, but chet kuf is your law. I imitate your law. Lamed Aleph, no negatory. Shin Kaf Het, Tav Yod suffix I will. Shin Kaf Het means to find, but it also means to forget or be. I'm not going to forget this. I'm not going to oblivion. It's like, I'm not going to let this slip into oblivion because I exist like a puff of smoke in a skin bottle. It's just like, it's pretty temporary. The one thing I can do to make my life count, I'm not going to ignore, I'm not going to forget about your chet kuf. So David is, remember, going back to the first couple of verses, taking everything into consideration, including the fact that Nathan the prophet had just given him this incredible prophecy of a dynasty. He says, yeah, I'm taking that in consideration, but I'm not going to ignore your chet kuf. Verse 84, kaf memhe, to quantify how much or how many. Imi, well, there's 2 or 3 different ways to write the word day. In this case, it's translated days. Sometimes it's yod mem, yod mem. This is yod mem, yod. So it's my yod mem, or shouldn't it be yod vav mem? But again, yods and vavs, like wild cards, have been dropped in between the other letters. So imi is days. Obedka, well, Obed is servant, your servant. She says, quantifying how many are the days of your servant, my death, mem tav yod, that word again, tav ayin shin hey. Well, ayin shin hey is to make or to do, like shema, shomer, asha, to hear, to guard, to do, to be about the business, productivity. Tav ayin shin, industrialized, manufacturing, doing, making, accomplishing. Bet, resh dalet pei yod. Well, resh dalet pei was a word we looked at last week. It means to pursue, to chase, to strive eagerly, to reach. It's also the word persecution, hunt down, harass, like having somebody chase you. But David says, I'm going to be chasing down mishpat. Last word of the sentence, mishpat. Justice, balanced scales of equities, fair, right dealings. In other words, David isn't saying, I'm going to get all the gold and silver I can. That's kind of what his son was doing. But he was promised that as a gift, so that's maybe a different matter. But David isn't sitting there saying, when I make a deal with somebody, I'm going to get everything I can. I'm going to take, I'm going to give. David is saying, hey, I'm going for equity. What's fair? What's right? Years ago, my brother was telling me, and when you're making contract deals, some people are win-lose. I'm going to win, and you're going to lose. I'm going to outsmart you. I'm going to weasel. I'm going to trick you. But other people are, no, we're going for win-win. You hold your line. I'm going to get everything I can from you, but don't you give me more than you can, more than's right, because I want you to win too. That's a win-win situation. If you can design all your contracts where it's a win-win, everybody ends up being happy, right? Is that what David's saying? David's saying, listen, I don't know how many days I have on this planet, but I'm going to take the days I have. I'm not going to forget your hook, but I'm going to chase after mishpat, because if I do mishpat, I'm trying to help other people win, but I've got nothing but win. I've got nothing but victory. Why are we even alive on the face of the earth? What's the point? Why are we here? Why live another day? Why live 75 years instead of 25 years? How do you store up treasures in heaven? Is this all about treasures in heaven, or am I just about be a good person? Well, we've got this stuff built into our mind. Give me more. They asked the wealthiest man in the world, I don't know if it was Getty or who it was, but they said, how much is enough? This is years ago. Nowadays, they say Elon Musk is the wealthiest man in the world. And whether that's true, I don't know, but there's those rumors. But it's that kind of person. And they asked him, how much is just enough. He said, a little bit more. Kind of funny, kind of interesting. A little bit more. What's this got to do with to quantify KAF? How much? How many days do you need to accomplish your perfect purpose of life on earth? Well, who are you? What's your Shem? Who did you decide to be before your death? Oh, I need another year. What do you want to do? Oh, I just want to I just don't want to die, or I'm not ready to. Why are you here? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the point? What are you trying to accomplish? I need to do more mitzvah. No, you're not going to earn salvation. You're not going to earn treasures in heaven, or are you? How do you store up treasures in heaven? If you could make if you could have one more day of your life on earth, what would you do with it? If you could have 10 more years with your life on earth, what would you do with it? What good is, why are you here? Interesting that the word mem, kaf, hey, mem prefix, hey suffix, so kaf is the letter in the middle. Maka means slap, strike. Tav, kaf, hey, we mentioned that in the very beginning. Slap. But kaf isn't a bad word. Blessing, covering, supporting, holding, like the picture of the world in between. What's the kaf? What's kafas? Susan Ciani, piano player, she did a song called Velocity of Love. What's the kafosity of love? Beautiful song that Susan Ciani did. Just playing off those words. What's the kafosity of love? What's not just kaf like these are the rules, these are better. Tav kaf, oppression, violence. Tav kaf hey, mem kaf hey, smitten, wounded, plague. Tav kaf hey is also a small table, or he sat down. To sit down at a small table, that's like a cafe table where you might sit with somebody. Tav kaf yod is a peacock or a parrot. Tav kaf vav nun is a characteristic, planning, designing, quality, disposition, character, and astronomy. So the arrangement of the stars in the sky, planned and put right there, is Tav Kaf. So is a peacock. So is the design of a parrot, all the great colors. So to plan something beautiful is Tav Kaf. What Yahweh had in mind for Israel to be his people is Tav Kaf. And when they don't, they betray him. They don't listen. They don't want anything to do with him. They treat his words casually with indifference, or that disturbs them. They detest it. They find it abominable, abhorrent, loathsome. Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy 23. He just wants to slap them. Both sides of this is kaf. Here, this is what I have planned for you. This is what I think of you. This is my imaginary dreams of our life together. But because of the way you treat me with such despise, it's just you get the slap. For how long? Forever, until the end of the planet? And then he gets a people that don't have to do anything? Is that really the way it goes? That doesn't make any sense to me. Mem kaf vav nun. Well, kaf vav nun, the vav nun suffix, like Zion, Zadiod, vav nun, the one who's doing, the one who's mem coughing, the one who mem, the real kaf, where we get the word canon, aimed, directed, tuned, regulated, adjusted, like the tuner of a radio, where you're bringing it in exactly the bandwidth for hearing the frequency turned into the music. Exact, precise, parallel. Here's one line, the other one's parallel. Here's this, here's parallel. Here's what he said, imitate what he said. That's the kaf, that's the Torah, that's Yahweh and Israel. Corresponding. Torah, fixed place, mechanical. Supposed to be a man and a wife. Very similar then to Rakav, the horse and rider, the team of horses with the chariot, Merkabah. Synonym concepts. Balanced scales of equity. Israel is supposed to be about the business of imitating Yahuwah according to the design, the pattern, the right frequency, wavelength, the right projecting the character. Why is it the bride of Christ does not recognize Yahweh's Torah as being for her in its totality? Why is the Torah so detestable that it's nailed to the cross and done away with and thought of as a reproach, as a curse given to the Jews because they didn't want to believe in the Savior? Something left-handed about that whole thing. Verse 85, Kaf Resh Vav. Well, Kaf Resh is a battering ram, a feast, a pasture. Lamed Yod means it's mine. It's to buy something to put on a banquet. And then the word is Zion Dalet Yod Mem. Well, Zion Dalet, a word that was used previously last week, I believe it was Zadim, means insolent, wanton, malicious, presumptuous, like just a rotten attitude contrary to the whole thing. A banquet my banquet that somebody bought for me, insolent, wanton, malicious, Shin Yod Het Vav Tav. Well, Shin Yod Het, put a mem in front of She, and it's Messiah, Mashiach. Pit, ditch, to swim, like swimming in a hole in the ground. Shrub, converse or conversation, communication, talk, meditation, info. Then the word asher, who, that, which, straight, white, valid, authentic, confirmed. And then lamed aleph, no. And then here's the last word, kaf, tav, vav, resh, tav, kaf. Well, kaf, tav, vav, resh, katur, means surrounded or encircled. Surrounded or encircled. That's like the Mishkan around this enclave. And inside the conclave itself is like the courtyard. But tav, vav, resh is where we get the word tour, to go on tour, to go around. It's where we get the word tire, like the wheel in your car. It's also the word to spy out or reconnoiter or to search. Tav resh without the vav is to search or explore. That's the Torah, like your Torah. Torah, tav, vav, resh, hey, this is used quite often in this psalm as tav, vav, resh, tav, which is like Torah is the expression of instruction. Torah is you have instructed, essentially. Kaf, tav, vav, resh is to be surrounded with expectation. Kaf, tav, resh. Well, tav, resh is to explore. So to explore and then expect that what you're finding is the truth. So you expect that. In fact, interesting, kaf, vav, tav, resh means crowned or headline or corolla. Toyota Corolla, that's that word, Corolla. It's a crown. It's like, hey, what a beautiful, wonderful thing. So you could say, wait a minute. So what's this verse saying? Here's the words. What do they mean? What's it saying? Now, what am I supposed to think about this? A feast of insolent, wanton, malicious conversation, communication has been authenticated or seems authentic, but it's not what you said in the Torah. Is that what David's saying here in verse 85? Insolent, wanton, malicious, let's call them bad guys, have prepared a feast. I have 2,000 years of Bible study that I can take advantage of. Wow. Orthodox, Catholic, universal, saints, and Holy Spirit. But there's something about it which is just not your Torah. What am I supposed to do with that? How do I know what is good, what is true, what is kadosh, or what is the angel of light? What's a blessing and what's a curse? People flying up into heaven, people getting miracles, people having divine ecstasy. I've read stories of people from all different faiths having divine experiences, epiphanies. I don't know which one is right and which one is wrong. I can't say. I'm not going to do the left-handed thing of trying to say these guys are going to burn in hell and these guys are going to get in and get treasures in heaven. It's like, I don't know. All I know is, what does his Torah say to do? That's fundamentally clear. Yeah, but these guys say you don't have to and you shouldn't, and that's for somebody else. It's like, okay, then for them it's for somebody else. What did he hand me? What did he put right here for me? Words of the Torah. That's what David's saying. That's what I'm seeing. Verse 86, Kaf Lamed, that's all mitzvotika, all of your commandments, all that I have found that you commanded me, amuna, aleph mem vav nun hey. Well, that's the word I have faith in. But mem yod nun, in this case mem vav nun, means to classify, meter, numerator, faithfully, trustworthy. Hey mem vav nun, ha mona, here this is mona, so this is I will be faithful too, but hamuna means likeness, image, form. Adam also, dalit mem means likeness, image. Zadivav, zadimem is also image. So we're made in his image to imitate, to be parallel, to be just like him, to cook, het kuf, hok. Israel's job is to imitate faithfully, trustworthily, everything he said for us to do. That's Israel's job. Now, if somebody else is his bride, which is not Israel, that's up to them. I'm not going to sit there and mess with that. Somebody say, well, you have the right or the obligation. It's like, my obligation and my right is to say, what did he say? What does it mean? And now what am I going to do about it? And if somebody says, hey, we're his bride and we don't have to do anything he said, well, bully for you. I hope that's true for your sake. But is that Israel? Might be the bride of Christ, might be the church, but is it Israel? It might be holy and sacred and saints but is it Israel? If Yahweh has a particular people group that he calls Israel, that he calls my people, that he has these promises of blessing and a particular relationship, see the word Zavot, captain of legions, master of armies, is he talking about different kinds of angels? Is he talking about creatures on the face of the earth? Is he talking about extraterrestrial creatures that live in other galaxies around the universe? I don't know what he's talking about. Is he talking about different categories of human beings? He's the master of all kinds of stuff, whether I can identify them logically or not, whether they're dimensional to the earth, space and time, or extra dimensional, interdimensional of other times and spaces, of time travel across the universe. He can make whatever he wants, but what did he tell Israel to do? I will be faithful to the classification of what did you command and everything you commanded. That's what David's saying in verse 86. Shin kuf resh, lies, deception, false. Resh dalit pei vav nun. Pursue me, chase me, hunt me down, they're right on my tail. Lies and deceptions and distortions. David felt the right, boy, I felt the wind of that one go right past my ear. I sensed it. The hair in the back of your neck creep up. It's, boy, this thing is right on me. I better go back to what you always said. Last word here is ayin zayin resh nun yod. Well, Ezer, ayin zayin resh is the word for help, like Ezer kenegdo, what a wife is supposed to be to the husband. But it means enclosed, surrounded, and protected, like the mat around a frame, a picture frame around a picture is the word Ezer, ayin zayin resh. So it's a synonym with the word katur, surrounded, encircled. Your Torah is what protects me and keeps me, like that word for caliber or to bind, Like Yeshua in Revelation chapter 3 had the gold band around his chest. There's something which is a binding protection about, do you know what he said? There's the Yemen, there's the strong arm, the open hand, the KAF. You'll get smacked for not doing what he said. It's a gift, it's a blessing if you do what he said. What did he say? There's the bits and pieces of the left-handed, not the right. What did he say? Just do what he said. What's the Torah? And what did he command us? That's verse 86. 87. Kaf mem ayin tet. It means nearly or almost. Kaf means like. Mem ayin tet, literally in the dictionary, means small, few, diminished, excluded, scanty, or little. Like something that's almost not even there. Kaf lamed vav nun yod. Kaf prefix like. Yod suffix my. Lamed vav nun means to lodge overnight. Bet aleph resh zadi. Well, bet aleph is to enter. Resh zadi is running. Aleph resh zadi is the earth. So he's basically saying, man, I entered the earth and I started running, and it's like lodging overnight. I spent half the time asleep, and it's like I just got here and I'm waking up, it's time to go. And it's like, wait a minute. David lived 70 years, it says in the scripture, 70 years. And he says that there's so few, it's like it's almost like I almost missed it. And where am I at? What am I? Vav, Aleph, Nun, Yod, and I, Lamed Aleph means no. Ayin, Zayin, Bet, Tav, Yod. Well, Ayin, Zayin, Bet means leave, forsake, or abandon, but it also means the opposite, which is help, assist, repair, prepare, fortify. But because this is the negative, I could read it, I will not, or I have not abandoned or forsaken. And the last word, Pei Kuf Dalet, Yod Kaf. Well, Pei Kuf Dalet, Fakad or Pakoda. With a Yod, see, sometimes that word is Pei Kuf Vav Dalet, but it's like, what is that? You look it up in the dictionary. Kaf suffix means you have, and then the Yod between the Dalet and the Kaf, Fakadi. I mean, this is what you've entrusted me with. Brings up the parable of the guy going away, with wealthy man leaving his servants. He left 5 talents to one, 3 to one, and 1 to one. Came back after his journey and said, what'd you do with what I gave you? That's what this word means. So David says, I have not forsaken or abandoned what you entrusted me. So all I can say with this is that we're not here very long. I'm in my 70th year. Boom, I'm David's age at the end of his life. And David said, what you told me to do, I'm responsible for. Yeah, but you didn't tell that other guy. It doesn't matter about the other guy. I see these words. I feel that Yahweh wants me to know what these words mean. And so I sense that I have a responsibility for accurately expressing, verbalizing, hodoing these words. And whether anybody else can appreciate it or not, or like it or not, or finds it different, or takes it and runs and makes it their own, great. But I have a responsible for what I feel he gave me, and whatever that means. So, I heard somebody say one time, somebody about 70 years old, my wife thinks if she was me, she could have lived my life a little better than I have. Pretty funny. If she was me, she would have done a much better job at living my life. Well, I've got to do the best I can, and I take it very seriously. If somebody else was me, maybe they'd do a better job. Or maybe they should just take the good things and pick it up, make it your own, and run with it and make it your own. All I can say is What do I think he gave me to do? What do I think he entrusted me with? What do I feel a quickening with? And I better do it up big. I better do it with all my heart. That's what David's saying right here. And there's not much time. There's just a few days left. Verse 88, the last verse of this section. Kaf, het somic dalid kaf. Chesed is the word in the middle between the two kafs, like your chesed. So now David's making a metaphor. He's saying, this, just like your hesed. Well, what's Yahweh's chesed? It's his tender loving kindness. How does his tender loving kindness work? So this last verse is a bit of a riddle. Well, the next word is het yod nun yod. Well, nun yod is a suffix. Het yod is life. But if the yod is dropped between het nun, then het nun is the word for grace. Like your chesed, my grace. I could say, I have received my grace. Hey, that's a New Testament teaching. We're not under law, we're under grace. Woohoo! I don't have to do anything he said. There's no law. There's no het kuf. I now just get to live in his grace. And if you look at the word for grace, het nun, it means encampment. It's where we get the word in English, khan, Khan, which is a warlord. So it's like, or the guy who's running the caravan with all the provisions, and you can stay at night protected. You got a contingent of soldiers to protecting you. You've got food, you've got provisions, you've got the entertainment, you got whatever you need. This is the encampment of the Khan, Chen. And then the word Vav Aleph, Shin Mem Resh Hey. Well, Aleph is I will, Hey is the expression Shamar. I will watch, keep, and guard. Two other words, ayin dalet vav tav. Well, ayin dalet like mem, vav ayin dalet is the moed, but ayin dalet is witness and testimony. Ayin dalet yod is the bejewelment, the ornamentation. I will guard, ayin dalet is testimony, witness. I will guard the witnesses. If you put a mem in front of it and put a nun instead of a vav tav, which is the plural, you get mem ayin dalet nun, which is the word ma'iden, like the Garden of Eden, which is delight, delicacy, but it's also bond, fetter, chains, refined, delicate, and graceful. And again, I'm just changing the suffix and changing the prefix and putting yods and vavs in between to see what is this word about? What is he actually saying? And then the last word is pay yod kaf. Well, pay yod is my mouth. Kaf suffix means your mouth. But if I look up pay yod kaf in the dictionary, it means painted. Oh, that's like putting lipstick on. Okay. Your mouth lipstick. But kaf suffix, yod pei hey. See, I'm not only keeping one letter, the pei. Yod pei hey is the word for beauty. So ifa. So this is almost like your beautiful mouth. But it says that the word painted is like antimony, I think the word is for painting eyes, like painting eyes. There was a metallic gray or a blue. Well, is this then saying my eyes are painted for your allurement? Go back to the beginning. Like your chesed, my comeliness, and I will guard. Well, see, the vav doesn't necessarily only mean and. See, the letter vav is a connecting letter that can mean and, so, but, however, in which case it's also a one letter synonym with kaf yod or lamed mem ayin nun, which means in which case or so that that can happen. So this vav is this connector, so I can take shema adot peika and compare it to ka chesed ka chayini. So I could read this, although I live, chet yod, I am living in your grace, still yet I will guard and keep and watch the testimonies, which is my painted lips for you, which is my eye makeup for you, my being your Hanani. Just like you give me chesed, tender loving kindness, which is the expression of your grace, your favor, your benevolence in my direction. Remember, it goes all the way back to the beginning here. We started talking, Yahweh says, I'm going to turn my eyes from you. Instead of making your concerns my concern, I'm going to give you over to your adversaries. I'm going to smack you with my hand instead of covering and protecting you. See, being in the grace of the encampment of the Khan is like protection and upholding. In our vaporous life in the middle, like that painting I did of the earth being transparent, is almost like the vapor and then it's gone. And the real thing is the hands, his KAF. Just like your tender loving kindness is grace to me, you just give it to me. I don't have to do anything for it. Then why do I shomer mitzvot and chok? Because that's my painted lips. That's my kiss to you. That's my painted eyes of being alluring to you. You want your people to hear and have a heart for your words and to walk in your ways of kindness and truth, justice, righteousness. That's what you want. So as I do that, to you, I look beautified as your coquette little darling, your Hanani. For me to shomer, your Zadivav, as your Torah has told us, that to you is beautification, is a kiss of affection. That's all it is. It's not about killing animals. It's doing what you said. So then you get the pei kuf dalet, you get the het kuf, you get the mitzvot, you get the mishpat, you get the Torah, you get the edot. What did Yahweh say? What came out of your mouth, and to who do you look? In your eyes, are my eyes beautiful? That I'm looking at what your eyes look at? Weigh and measure similarly, parallel, affectionately. That attitude is what's being expressed. With each one of these words, which in the English translation is typically law, command, ordinance, statute, right ruling. There's another English word too, precept. I'm just saying that the English words have turned this whole feeling into this ordered regimen of disturbing legality, I guess I would say. Anyway, like we said in the very beginning, Numbers 10, 9 and 10. As we listen to what he says and find our being in his courtyard, that's the place. That's just to be in that presence, in that, you might say, in the vibe of his countenance. And how do we get that, resonate with that, put our heart on the same thing his heart's on? Then I can't listen to the doctrines. I mean, there's some merit in doctrines. I'm not denying them completely, but I think there's a greater merit in finding out what he said, wrapping my mind around these 22 letters, because that's what he said. That's what he invented. That's what he made. And that's what he's given us. And then whatever doctrines line up with these letters, oh, I can go along with that. But when there's a conflict, Don't let that stop me from doing what he said to do. I think that's the left hand and the right hand. And when you give, what are you supposed to give? Right here, verse 88. Give the Ashemera. That's the Ahava. Us loving him is Ashmera Edot, Peika. Because I'm your Kineni. Well, there we go. I think we're at the time of the end of this particular hour, I believe. Right? Are we?
Yeah, just about.
So here's another. Thank you, Yahuwah. Toda Yahweh. Shavuot Sameach.